Welcome back. Now, the Special Investigative Unit intends to hold former Eskom CEO Andy Ruyter accountable for commissioning a private intelligence report into Eskom without obtaining authorization. Now, the SIU and other law enforcement agencies yesterday appeared before Parliament's Standing Committee on Public Accounts to update the committee on their processing of the report. Now, Ruyter alleged in a TV interview that senior ANC politicians are involved in systematic sabotage and looting at Eskom based on information from this report. George Fivaz Forensic and Risk was paid 17.1 million rand to conduct the investigation, which was funded by Business Leadership South Africa. So for more on this matter, we are now joined virtually by Head of the Special Investigations Unit, Advocate Andy Mothibi. Advocate Mothibi, thank you so much and welcome to Update at Noon, to Morning Live.
No, thank you very much, Sakina. We appreciate the opportunity to be in conversation with you.
Now, Advocate Mothibi, this has been long in the making. You know, there's a lot of talk that has gone on around this particular report. The report at first was sight unseen. It has now been seen. So when you were presenting this update on the investigation into the matter to SCOPA yesterday, you made it clear that the SIU's position is that the investigations commissioned by Ruyter were not permitted. So please explain to us why.
No, thank you for this opportunity to explain to you and the public. When we looked at this matter, the investigating team had a clear focus and mandate to go and look on whether this investigation was authorized or not. And the authorization was clearly from the board, which is the accounting authority of Eskom. So that part we could not find. In fact, it was stated that there was no authority for Mr. Ruyter to have commissioned this kind of an investigation. In fact, he did say that he needed to gather intelligence, amongst others. So that part we have said is also an issue that we needed to raise, because there are state entities like State Security Agency that are authorized to gather intelligence in the state. So that is the part that we've raised. So as a CEO, we appreciate that he had really to act in the interest of the organization, but there are governance framework and rule of law that requires him to act within. And in this case, the investigation was not authorized. But what we said is that as unauthorized as we have found the investigation to be, is that the usefulness thereof, the content of the report cannot be ignored, because they are pointing us, the Hawks and SAPS, in a direction where we could look at to enhance and take the investigation forward, because it does point to criminality that we are all concerned about, that the public is concerned about, the sabotage that we are seeing at Eskom, and all the thefts around the coal, the fuel, and some of the procurement processes. So we do understand that his intent could have been, yes, to assist in uncovering criminality, but there's the governance part that we are also raising, that he needed to have done that appropriately within the appropriate governance framework. Because, Sakina, it's important, really. It's important that state institutions, CEOs, the accounting authorities and officers really act within the prescribed frameworks. Because remember, there is also this a key points or national key points framework in government, which requires really some of the or people who investigate or who does work in these institutions to be of utmost integrity, to be vetted accordingly, and so on. So So we raise in that part because part of the SIU's mandate to investigate is to investigate maladministration as well, over and above the corruption and other criminalities. So these are two areas which both require attention. So we did say, to the extent that we found that it was unauthorized, we would then look at the legal framework, what actions could be taken, because remember, he's no longer with Eskom. But that we have said, the fact that he's no longer with Eskom really just has severed, has terminated his employer-employee relationship. But there are instances where there could be a legal basis to take action, and our legal team will look at that, will take legal counsel, and we did say yesterday that should there be a legal basis to act, we will definitely act and reach out to where he is.
Advocate Mothibi, does this mean that you are solely going to hold Andre de Ruyter accountable? What about anyone else at the entity who was aware of this particular investigation and it being undertaken?
No, thank you. At this stage, the response was solely around the question that pointed to Mr. de Ruyter. We did specifically say in our presentation yesterday that anyone, including Eskom officials, who participated and handed out information to the investigators that, as we said, were conducting this investigation that was not authorized, because equally, those who participated and gave out information, they are expected to have first determined whether the investigation was appropriate, authorized, and so on. Failure to do that would make them liable as well. So we did say in so many ways that even Eskom officials, those who are found to be wanting, action will be taken against them.
What about politicians who may have been in the know about this?
From the administration perspective, right? From the administration perspective, we're looking at how the institution is administered, and there you include accounting authority, which is the board. You include the executive, which is management. You include the executive authority, which is the political head. In the investigation that we conducted, it does appear that the executive authority may not have been aware of this investigation of gathering of intelligence. We did in one meeting listen to the former chair of the board, Dr. Malachapuru Makhoba, who indicated that he may have been aware, but we as investigators will look at formalized resolutions of the board who would have given him the appropriate mandate. That is not anywhere to be found. So the political head, which is the minister, we have also found that he may not have been aware of the investigation. Now, I do go forward and say the investigation, the contents thereof, and I had in the intro that there are names that are mentioned in the report, right? And we did confirm yesterday that those names will of course be looked at as part of the investigation, and that we couldn't mention names yesterday. And I know that Scopa really went out and requested us to mention the names. Again, we operate within the legal framework. We operate within the legal criteria. We didn't want to undergo legal risk and place ourselves and the SIU at legal risk. We will ensure that the investigation is executed appropriately at an appropriate time when the evidence is gathered and points to anyone. It doesn't matter whether you're a politician, whether you are an ordinary member of the society, or you are an official of Eskom or any other way. We will make sure that when there's evidence supporting the findings, we return the appropriate findings and an appropriate action has to be taken.
Advocate Mothibi, how many politicians are mentioned in that report?
At at the moment, Sakina, all I can really say is that there are names that points to a number of public representatives. I don't want to mislead the public, but there's a number of public representatives mentioned in there. And we will, and I can promise you, once we reach that stage where evidence points out and support the findings, you can reach out, we'll reach out to you and come and inform. And we will inform SCOPA as well, appropriately. So at this stage, we're just really allowing the investigation to unfold so that we can have an appropriate legal base to mention those names and numbers.
Advocate Mothibi, I still have a few questions that I'd like to put to you. So if you have the opportunity to stay with us for just a little while, because we just want to update the 7 o'clock news, just 2 or 3 questions more that I would like to put to you, Advocate Andy Mothibi of the SIU. Welcome back. Thanks for being with us here on Morning Live. And thanks to Advocate Andy Mothibi of the SIU in this conversation that we're having of what transpired in Parliament yesterday, where the SIU has indicated that they intend to hold the former Eskom CEO, Andy Ruyter, accountable for the commissioning of a private intelligence report into Eskom without obtaining the necessary authorization. Advocate Mothibi, thanks so much for your time. So I wanted to ask you, a previous question that I asked was whether you would solely be focusing on Andy Ruyter in terms of accountability. But of course, from your assessment of the intelligence reports, George Fivaz Forensic and Risk, they also seemingly had access to extensive Eskom information and data. So the question is, are private parties allowed to undertake investigations into state institutions without the necessary authorization as well?
No, thank you for that question as well. So we focused on the former CEO, Mr. Ruyter. You asked appropriately around whether we're going to hold Eskom officials to account. We said yes. Yes, now that's another aspect. And we did say that in the report as well, that we will also consider whether there's any action that we need to take against the private company, the Fivaz company that investigated, in a manner that says, the extent to which it was not authorized, and them being reasonably expected to have been aware that this investigation is not authorized, were they in a authorized or legally in a position where they could have obtained the information from Eskom. The question really, as we speak today, is that that information obtained from Eskom would be unauthorized in the context of the investigation being unauthorized. So some of the actions that would be taken would still be unpacked in accordance with the legal team that we are engaging with, including, of course, what becomes of the information that they have collected from Eskom that could now be out there to extent that it may prejudice Eskom. So those are some of the actions that we will consider and ensure that we act appropriately to protect the interest of Eskom and accordingly the interest of the public. Because we have seen, I think in your intro, we indicated that really the concerns around Eskom, the load shedding that we are seeing, and we know that there are various factors that contributed, to the state of Eskom as we see it today. So we would like to really contribute towards ensuring that we assist Eskom board, Eskom management, executive authorities responsible for Eskom to really return Eskom to this entity that complies with the law, including anyone who comes to investigate at Eskom that is within the legal framework and the law. Thank you.
As we round this up, Advocate Mothibi, so what exactly would holding Andy Ruyter look like at this stage for the SIU, and what precisely are you looking to implicate him on? Yeah.
No, that's really a question that we are at the moment considering, and I'm glad you picked on it. The nature of the action. So if assuming, well, if we say he was still at the CEO, right, we would then consider actions that are really applicable to him as the CEO and as the employee of Eskom. But now that's behind us now, because he's no longer the employee, right? Now, at the moment, my brief to the legal team is we need to look at the legal basis on which we can act, right? Number one is the civil action that can be taken, based on any act that he would have taken that could have prejudiced Eskom. And the prejudice may be in various forms, right? Legally, the damages or legal damages that you cause to a legal entity can be, defined in various forms. So we are going to dissect that question, Sakina, and I'm glad you raised this for the public to understand that now that he is no longer the employee of Eskom, there is now the aspect of the civil litigation area, the liabilities that we need to determine that, Mr. Ruyter, you may have caused this kind of damage to Eskom while you were still the CEO and commissioning this unauthorized investigation. And this is the basis on which we are saying you should answer. This is how Eskom, was prejudiced and experienced legal damages, and therefore we would like you to answer to that. So that's as I say, it's really just a high level, but there's going to be appropriate legal analysis around that.
Advocate Mothibi, we'll leave it there for today, but I suspect you and I will be having a lot more conversation as this unfolds. But thanks so much for your time this morning. Advocate Andy Mothibi, head of the Special Investigations Unit, speaking to us about the intention to hold former Eskom CEO Andy Ruyter accountable for commissioning a private intelligence report into Eskom.